Hi, everybody, and welcome to the final conference preview show here on Proline. We saved the best for last. The Southeast Conference, the SEC is just it's a power-packed league, that's for sure. And we will break it down, give you our predictions for what's going to happen in that conference this season. Jeff Sadas here from Las Vegas Sports Services. I'm Dave Koken, and we'll get to the SEC breakdown in just a moment. But hey, college football is here. It began on Thursday night. And already, I had a nice win with Florida International, easy win, and an unbelievable loser. I don't think I'll have a worse one all year. Wake Forest plus the points is epic bad beat. 29-14, they're up. It's getting toward the finish. They lose their quarterback on an injury. Backup comes in, gets picked. They had a missed extra point along the way, which turned out to be important. It gets to be 29-29 as Syracuse ties it up with a touchdown and a deuce. Syracuse gets the ball back, line up for pretty much a chip shot field goal, but I think a 30-yarder, maybe 32. That's going to win the game by 3, which is okay with me because I got Wake Forest plus 6.5. The field goal gets blocked. Overtime, what's the one thing I don't want in overtime is I don't want Wake Forest to win the coin toss. Because if they lose the coin toss, they'll get the ball first and, well, in all likelihood, at least settle for a field goal opportunity, in which case they can lose the game, and I'm still going to cover. Only way I can lose is if Syracuse gets the ball first, scores a touchdown, and Wake Forest doesn't score, and that's exactly what happens. So nice way to start the season. The good news is I had a winning night anyway. I went 3-2 overall, 2-1 on the NFL side. And again, I split the colleges, but boy, big difference between 3-2 and 4-1. And that is a rotten way to lose a game. You hate that? Is there anything you hate more than that, Jeff? I mean, you know, when you get the right side, the entire football game, and just this incredible set of circumstances comes up where every single thing has to go wrong for you to lose, and it does.
Well, I have to confess, Dave, I had Syracuse. So,
Dave's a winner.
I'll have to pay for that, soon, but that was one of the luckiest wins I've ever had. But I was 2-0 last night with Syracuse and Western Kentucky, so hopefully that's a good omen for my season, and hopefully it'll get better for you, because that was just one of the luckiest wins I've had for a long time.
That was pretty remarkable. All right, well, listen, let's eliminate the luck this weekend. We've both got some great stuff going. You've got a game of the month to kick things off.
Yeah, my non-conference game of the month is going this weekend in college football. It's only $10. Just call LBSS toll-free 1-866-575-8918, and you get the non-conference game of the month. This will be my first big game of the season. I started out 2-0, as I just said, with that lucky win, plus Western Kentucky. So just call 1-866-575-8918, and you get the non-conference game of the month for just $10.
All right, I got 3 games I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk much about it because I'm just going to tell you what they are. But if you want to get the winners of these games, this is as good an offer as you'll get. It's as simple as that. UCLA at Houston, Fresno State and Cal. It's Cal's home game. They're meeting at Candlestick Park while Cal's renovating their field this year. And Louisiana Tech, Southern Mississippi. I think I'm going 3-0 with these games. Your cost is $3. $1 per game. All you need to do is make one phone call, 1-866-841-1665. Now, there is a catch. You got to do this on Friday. Too busy on Saturday to honestly take on new callers and things like that. So make sure you call today for this special. $1 on 3 games, a total of $3. UCLA, Houston, Fresno State, Cal, Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss. All 3 games for $3. 1-866-841-1665. All right, the all-powerful SEC. And boy, there's some good teams in this league. Let's fire away, Jeff. You got 2 strong divisions and quality up and down the league.
Yeah, I'll start with the SEC East here. South Carolina, I'm picking first. There was an interesting situation here at quarterback. Steven Garcia was suspended in the spring, then they reinstated him.
Again.
But sophomore Connor Shaw has looked better in the scrimmages, so both are going to be playing this Saturday versus East Carolina. The Gamecocks are a 20.5-point favorite, which would seem like a lot considering this unsettled quarterback situation. They do have the great wide receiver back in Alshon Jeffrey, and Marcus Lattimore is back at tailback, and they landed the top recruit in the country, Jadeveon Clowney, a defensive end. They already had a talented defensive line with Trevion Robertson and Melvin Ingram. So I'll go with South Carolina first. They get Florida at home. That's a major thing. Plus, but they do have a tough stretch in midseason. They had 3 road games in a row at Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Arkansas. I'll go with Florida second, where, Mil Muschamp's the new coach there. Charlie Weiss, new offensive coordinator. But the Gators lost 4 starters in the offensive line. And quarterback John Brantley had more interceptions than TD passes last season. Plus, Brantley's had a sore back lately, but I think he'll probably play on Saturday versus Florida Atlantic, though. The top 3 rushers are back, but only 4 starters are back on defense. And, of course, their best defensive back, Janoris Jenkins, was kicked off the team. Florida gets Alabama at home. But they have to play LSU, Auburn, and South Carolina all on the road, and plus the annual game with Georgia and Jacksonville. So a tough schedule for Florida this season. Georgia had its worst year in a long time, 6-7, and the Bulldogs lost their top 2 receivers, plus running backs Washaun Ely transferred, and Caleb King's out for the season for being academically ineligible. Multiple injuries on the offensive line. The bright spot is Aaron Murray's back at quarterback, but a lot of the talent that's surrounding him is gone right now. Tennessee got off to a terrible start in Derek Dooley's first year, but the Vols won 4 of the last 5 games. They did lose one of their top defensive players, safety Jansen Jackson, who was dismissed from the team after troubled history. Terren Poole was back at running back, and one of the best receivers in the conference, Rick Rogers, returns. Sophomore quarterback Tyler Bray was the catalyst in those 4 wins at the end of the regular season last year. In his very first game as a starter, he threw for 325 yards and 5 touchdowns versus Memphis. So Tennessee will score a lot of points this year, but I think the defense will still be a problem. Kentucky lost a lot of offense, and the Wildcats' top running back, Raymond Sanders, is still recovering from knee surgery. He played last night. I think he carried 13 times for 27 yards. Junior Morgan Newton will be the quarterback. He didn't look too great last night, but he had that one big run that put him up 14-3. Defense returns just about everyone, so hopefully they'll improve after opposing teams averaged 28 points per game against Kentucky last season. Vanderbilt finally made it to a bowl game 2008. Now they're back to the losing ways. They're 2-10 each of the last 2 seasons. Everybody's back on offense, but the Commodores averaged only 17 points last year, so they're going to be my last place pick. So for the SEC East, I'm going to go with 1 South Carolina, 2 Florida, 3 Georgia, 4 Kentucky, 5 Tennessee, and 6 Vanderbilt.
I think of all the conferences, I think this might be the first time we've completely matched up right down the line. On picks 1 through 6. I also have the Gamecocks on top. It's now or never, I believe, for Steve Spurrier with this team. This sector of the SEC is not as strong as the other one. And it's there for the taking. They're loaded. You're going to have to settle on the quarterback. I mean, we'll find out at halftime of this weekend's game who the quarterback is, because they're going to play the 2 of them. They're going to play Shaw in the first quarter, and they're going to play Garcia in the second quarter, and I guess whoever's played better or whoever impressed Spurrier more in the first half will be the starting quarterback, at least for the time being. There's not much not to like here. And Marcus Lattimore is one of the best players in the country. It's that simple. This is a deep, experienced football team. I know they have to go to Georgia, as you mentioned, but I think they're catching them at the right time, because Georgia's putting a lot into this Boise State game. It's a really big game for them to start the season, where South Carolina is a much easier opponent and really shouldn't be particularly tested against East Carolina. They do have that 3-game stretch in the middle at Mississippi State, but then there's a bye week before they go to Tennessee and Arkansas. And I think they've got a good chance to, get a couple of those games in the win column. So I'm not looking at this team as a national championship contender. I think they'll lose 2 or 3 games along the way, but they really shouldn't lose more than that. And I think that's going to be enough to get them to the conference title. You picked Florida second, right?
Right.
Yeah, so am I. I like Muschamp. I think he's going to be just fine as their head coach. The question I've got is, how much is John Brantley going to improve from what was a really bad junior season? Brantley was I don't know how else to put it. He was a huge flop last year. A lot of things were said that indicated he'd be tremendous last year. Some people had Brantley on the list of getting some kind of postseason honors, maybe not first team All-American, but somewhere in the conversation. Instead, he goes out and he completed 60% of his passes, 61%, but more interceptions than touchdowns, and a lot of mistakes for Brantley. He just wasn't very good. Didn't prove to be very mobile either. which surprised me. So I think he is a question mark right now. Aside from that, you do have only 10 returning starters on the football team, so there are some questions as far as the experience goes, and I just can't put them above South Carolina. Georgia is the pick for a lot of people to win this division this year. I'm not going to pick them. I think Mark Richt's going to be in hot water. Look, we might find out differently. If they can beat Boise tomorrow, well, that'd be a great way for them to kick off the season, and maybe it would be a sign that this team's finally going to put things together. But most teams, when they have plus numbers in net turnovers, are going to have a good season. Georgia was plus 10 last year. It's actually one of the better figures in the country, and still ended up with a 6-6 record, and then lost to Central Florida in their bowl game. That's not very good. I know they were unfortunate, you could say, in the close games. But the fact is, I think a lot of that goes to coaching, and I thought questionable decision-making at time by Richt. Aaron Murray's a really good-looking player. I think Crowell, they did take a couple of big hits, huge hits in the running game with Ely and King. They're both out for the year. Crowell might be the best young prospect in the country. I mean, he's a true freshman, and he's going to be a star, but he's still a true freshman, and that's a lot to hitch your wagon to. And they lose their top two receivers, and one of them is A.J. Green, who's going to be a big-time player in the NFL. I think they've got some serious personnel losses. I disagree with those who are putting them on top. I think I've got them third in the division, and I think they'll have trouble staying ahead of Tennessee, to be honest with you. Tennessee, things settled down toward the late part of last season, and Derek Dooley, a guy who comes from a great football background, he's the son of Vince. He coached pretty well at Louisiana Tech. I thought he did a good job down the stretch with this team. Now he's got to take it to the next step and get them to a winning record. 6-6 last year, lost a tough one in the Music City Bowl to North Carolina. I think Tennessee is moving in the right direction, though, and I wouldn't be shocked if they can actually jump past one of these teams I talked about. So they're making progress. Kentucky, I think we saw their problem last night, Jeff. They're not going to be a good offensive team. I think the defense will be pretty solid. They've gotten everybody back from last year, but boy, they lost a lot of key guys. Mike Hartline was a really good college quarterback. They lost Randall Cobb was their best receiver. They lost their second and fourth best receivers from last year as well. Derek Locke was one of those guys. He was clearly their best running back last season. Cobb was a dangerous guy, both running and catching the ball. These are guys that it doesn't look to me like they've replaced these guys. I think there's going to be a drop-off there. Can they make a bowl game? Yeah, they can make a bowl game. And they've got 5 straight, by the way. So they've got a nice streak going as far as that goes. But I'm going to have to say that Kentucky will be about a 500 team. And then there's Vanderbilt. And, well, the Commodore is not the best. Vandy has a lot of weaknesses. 2 wins last year, but I really don't see much more for them, so they should finish last. We go to the other half of the SEC, and that would be the West. And I guess you've got what should be a dynamite race here. Alabama, LSU. I think Arkansas could have been in the mix, but they took two massive hits running back to start the season. I think that's going to hurt them. So who do you like, Alabama or the Bayou Bengals on top?
I'm taking Alabama. They still have the best defense in the conference and one of the best in the country. Last 3 seasons, opposing teams have averaged fewer than 14 points and about 3 yards per carry. This year, the 9 starters return, and the secondary, unlike last year, is deep and experienced. 4 offensive linemen return. Trent Richardson is the Heisman candidate at running back. Of course, they have to replace Greg McElroy, a quarterback. Looks like Nick Saban's going to play 2 quarterbacks on Saturday versus Kent State, Phillip Sims and A.J. McCarron, the 38-point favorites. This would be like a tryout for each of them. Another reason I'm picking Bama first place, they get Arkansas and LSU both at home this year. So that's my first place team. Then I'll go with LSU second. It's hard to keep up with all the drama surrounding this program. Jordan Jefferson suspended, but we're not sure for how long. Same with wide receiver Russell Shepard. One of the top offensive linemen in the conference, Josh Dorosic, is going to have knee surgery. He'll probably be out, if not for the season, at least a couple of months. They also have to replace 3 of the best defensive players from last season. There's still a lot of talent, but just too many question marks to pick them for first place in this division. If Jefferson doesn't go, I don't think he is going in the opener. But senior Jarrett Lee will will start. He played in 8 games 3 years ago when he was a freshman. He threw 14 TD passes with 16 interceptions, but that was 3 years ago. So we'll see how he does now. Arkansas suffered a severe blow, as you said, when his top running back, Mal Davis, went down with an injury. It was an ankle injury, and he'll probably miss the whole season. The Razorbacks also have to replace, of course, Ryan Mallett. Junior Tyler Wilson, who last year in that crazy 65-43 loss at Auburn, Wilson threw for 332 yards and 4 TDs after taking over from Mallett, who got injured. So we'll see how that goes. 7 starters are back on defense, including 3 on the line. Arkansas has to play Alabama and LSU on the road. Mississippi State, the good situation there. They returned 15 starters from a 9-4 team, including 3 on each side of the line. Dan Mullen's doing a great job there. They have a great offensive trio there. Quarterback Chris Ralph, running back Vic Ballard, wide receiver Chad Bumpus. Ralph threw for 18 TD passes last year. Ballard led the conference with 20 touchdowns, and Bumpus had 44 catches for 5 touchdowns. Auburn, a few teams in the country lost as much as Auburn. It's really going to be what a difference from last year. Not just Cam Newton, but 16 starters overall are gone. They still have Michael Dyer at running back, which is huge, but Junior Barrett Trotter is a starting quarterback. Obviously hasn't played much. Last year he was 6 for 9 for 64 yards. And Mississippi took a step back last year, 4-8, but the offense should be in good shape. 9 starters are back, including the entire offensive line. The Rebels also had a great recruiting year and should be back above 500 this season. Tailback Brandon Bowden is back. He was like a one-man show on offense last year. The new quarterback is Burry Brunetti. If he doesn't work out, they have junior Zach Stout, who will step in. The defense returns only 5 starters. So for the SEC West, I'll go with Alabama first, Florida second, 3rd Mississippi State, 4 Arkansas, 5 Ole Miss, and it's hard for me to take the national champion and pick them last, but I just can't see them in this division beating out anybody, so I'll take Auburn last. In the SEC East, they could have beaten out Vandy and maybe Tennessee, but I'll have to go with Auburn last in the SEC West, even though it sounds crazy.
Well, yeah, when you lose that many people, it's not so crazy. I think Auburn is going to be a team that really struggles this year, and I think they're about even with Mississippi because the incoming talent's pretty good, and I don't like the Mississippi team. I think things could get away from Houston Nutt this year, who's kind of on the hot seat. He always is. But I gave an edge to Mississippi. Not much, though. I don't know Barry Brunetti at quarterback. He looks like he might really struggle in this conference, especially with this. He's kind of a small guy, and I don't have high hopes for Mississippi. So if Auburn matures quickly, they might win a few more games than we think they're going to, and could get out of the cellar. But 6 returning starters, yikes! They are very talented, but I don't know how quickly they can grow up. So those are my bottom 2 teams in the conference, and I have Arkansas in the 4th spot. And look, you mentioned the guy Niall Davis. The 2 deep has already taken a bunch of hits. Actually, The other guys are mostly backups, but it's throughout the line. And Broderick Green, another running back who they counted on to do some stuff, he's not going to play. So you've got very little at running back that we know can play. I think Petrino's a really good coach, but you got to replace Ryan Mallett, who was a monster. 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Yeah, he'd make the occasional bonehead play, but Mallett was a real good college football quarterback. The defense is going to have to carry this football team, and I don't think they can do it. So I've got Arkansas comfortably in a bowl. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad year for Arkansas or anything like that, but they won 10 last year. I don't think they're going to duplicate that. So the top 3, now here's where it gets interesting, because I think LSU could be the best team on paper. But there are some real issues right now with this team off the field, and I really think that it could be an ongoing distraction during the year, and all it's going to take is one bad game for this team, one loss for them to kind of take a step back a few notches. Again, I'm not talking about them falling apart and ending the season 7-5 or something like that. That's not going to happen. They've got too much talent. But they've got 3 really tough games to start the season. Oregon, obviously this weekend, they're the underdog in that game. Then they got Northwestern State. That's just a gimme. Then they have to go to Mississippi State on a Thursday night. I'm going to talk about Mississippi State in a second. And then they're going to go to West Virginia after that. That's not going to be a picnic, okay? I mean, they're better than West Virginia, but they barely beat West Virginia last year, and that was at home. And West Virginia had that game circled, and we know Morgantown can be a very difficult place to play. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility. They could start the season 1-3. And then what happens? Because if you get a national championship caliber hopeful that gets up to a 1-3 start, the motivation just disappears. I think they're going to be hard-pressed to win all three of those games, I can tell you that. So that's why I don't have LSU as a team that can make it to the national title game. And I really like this Mississippi State team. They are coming on strong. Dan Mullen's team, impressive last year, 9-4. But, boy, if you look at the end of the season, this team was good. The Alabama loss, that's the bad one. They didn't play especially well in that game, but they had a 3-point loss to Auburn. Easily could have won that football game. They lost LSU by a pretty good margin early in the season. I think they've got that one circled, and I like what they've got coming back. Now, Chris Ralph isn't a superstar, but he manages the game pretty well. Really good running game. The defense, 7 guys back, and I think it's going to be a much improved unit. This team, I think they're a sleeper. I think they could be a lot better team than people think. I think Mullen's really got something going with this program. And while I don't think they're as good as Alabama, and even though they host Alabama, I don't think they can win that game, and they'll probably have a couple other stumbles someplace. I think this is a team that's going to win 10, maybe even 11 regular season games, and I'm going to pick them ahead of LSU in the conference. Alabama's the best team in the league. They're the best coach team in the league. There's just no weaknesses on this squad. I mean, the only thing you can say is, well, they lost a few people off the offense. Mark Ingram's not there anymore. And a heck of a player. Greg McElroy was as smart a quarterback as you're going to find. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Trent Richardson, I wouldn't rule him out of the Heisman Trophy conversation. He could have a monster year on this football team. They got the whole offensive line back except for the left tackle, and Alfred McCall's an experienced guy there. There's just nothing left not to like here. Defense is just flat out loaded. Who's going to score on this team? They got all but one starter back from last season. Couple of injuries to some decent backups in the secondary, but it's just the team is flat out packed. I think they're going to win them all. I'm looking for a loss. At Penn State, no. At Florida, no. At Mississippi, no. Mississippi State could be tough. Auburn's not a real threat this year. They catch LSU at home off a bye week on top of that. I think they're 12-0. I think they're playing in the title game. So I've got Alabama on top. Upset call Mississippi State to beat LSU for the second spot. And then we'll see how the rest of the conference goes. I've got Arkansas finishing ahead of Mississippi and Auburn. That's it for the SEC. Don't forget, 3-game package, $3 for all 3 games. UCLA, Houston, Fresno State, Cal, Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss. And all you got to do is make one phone call, but you got to do it on Friday. 1-866-841-1665. Get these 3 games for $3, and make sure you get Jeff's non-conference game of the month. Great way to start the season.
Yeah, non-conference game of the month is $10. It goes on Saturday, college football. Just call LBSS, toll free, 1-866-575-8918. That's 1-866-575-8918.
All right, we have a weekend edition of Proline coming up where Jeff and myself will return. We're going to break down a couple of the best college football games in the schedule and give you our picks on those games. So make sure to check back for that. For Jeff, I'm Dave. Thanks for watching, and we will actually be back at you very soon with the weekend edition of Proline.